Every day, there's a battle for your mind raging. Information coming from every angle with the will to deceive. Fear not. You found the place for truth. The voice of a generation that still has the will to believe in the greatest country in the history of the world. This is the Charlie Kirk Show. Buckle up. Here we go.
Okay, everybody, radio stations across the country, email us as always, freedom@charliekirk.com. Here at the Bitcoin.com studio, we are going to kick off the show today with a very special guest. It is the Secretary of Transportation. As we're continuing almost every day, we have a new cabinet secretary, Sean Duffy. Mr. Secretary, great to see you. Mr. Secretary, we're having you on during a story developing that is quite dark. And unfortunately, it seems as if it is a bigger problem than people realize. Essentially, we have a illegal alien, non-English understanding truck driving problem in this country. In Florida, there was a guy that was let into the country. His name is Harbinger Singh, or Harjinger, I guess. Harbinger also works kind of deeply, darkly ironic, where Joe Biden let him in the country, gave him a work license. He got a commercial driver's license, was not able to read English, only got 2 out of 12 on his proficiency test. He was driving U-Hauls across the country, and then he did an illegal U-turn on a highway, killing 3 Americans, and then just kind of watching while all the rubble and the bodies were taken out. How common is this, Mr. Secretary? And why have we been putting up with it in years past?
So listen, this has been brought to the nation's attention with this crash, but this is something that the department has been working on for months. Again, we're concerned that we have too many people who have come into the country. They might have even gotten work permits, and they can't speak the language, and they're getting full-term CDLs. That's exactly what Washington did for this driver, giving him a full-term CDL. By the way, Charlie, that's reserved for American truck drivers, American citizens to have that full-term CDL. And then California gave the same a CDL to him as well when his Washington one expired. But here's the real problem. We came out in May and said, listen, English only, our English proficiency for our truck drivers is critical for safety. And now some of the left gave us blowback and they gave us pushback and they said we were being too harsh. They were anti-immigrant. And we said, no, this is about safety. You have to be able as a truck driver to understand the road signs, but also if you're pulled over, you have to be able to communicate whether you're at a weigh station or with law enforcement. What's on your load? What are you carrying? Where are you going? Where are you coming from? You have to be able to communicate with law enforcement. And so this driver was pulled over in New Mexico last month in July. After our initiative was fully in the works, and they failed in New Mexico and they pulled him over for speeding to give him the English test. And had they done that, they would have put his vehicle out of service and taken him off the road. But because they didn't follow our directive, he went back on the road and was able to commit this horrific crash in Florida, taking 3 innocent lives with them. And so, again, we're doing what we can at the DOT level. We have to ask for states to participate with us because driver's licenses are issued in the states. We are engaged in a full investigation, and through that, there are a number of issues based on that investigation that we can take to inflict some pain to guarantee that our states are complying with federal law and regulation.
And just to be clear, also, you need to be able to communicate on a two-way radio if you're driving a rig. You have to be able to know where are we going. So he can't read the road signs. He can't talk to police. He can't talk to people about what he's carrying, and he can't talk on a two-way radio. So he doesn't understand English. We have discovered, though, this is not just a minor problem. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of these all across the country. And anecdotally, I think a lot of people in the audience would agree that driving on our highways, it feels much more dangerous. I mean, you have semi-trucks going all over the place. And now it makes sense because we have a bunch of foreigners that have not passed our driving test. This guy did not even pass the test adequately. So, and if his English was so bad, how did these cops just let him go in New Mexico? How do you communicate during a traffic stop? Do you have any insight into that, Mr. Secretary?
So insight specifically, that's why we're having an investigation. I don't want to comment on that specifically. But I will tell you that in some of these states, you have liberal governors who don't want to comply with the law. And they think that they know best and that we're just trying to be mean to illegals. But whether you're going to fly in an airplane, you're going to be on a train, you're going to be on the American roadway, you deserve to be safe. And you expect that your federal government is going to have smart policies in place that do keep you safe. And again, they just blatantly in New Mexico said, we're not going to comply with federal regulation and give him that road test. By the way, Charlie, I mean, let's lay out what happened here. It's a 4-lane highway with the grass in between, and usually have those little pieces of whether it's gravel or concrete where an emergency vehicle can turn around on that freeway. This driver went into the right lane, slowing down, and then turned into the left lane, trying to get into the you can see it right there. Into a turnaround, which is not authorized for a truck that size. But again, when he did that, he blocked the whole roadway. So this is just common sense. This is a common safety practice that any driver would say this is completely unsafe, whether you could read the road signs or not. But when you have a complete disregard for human safety and for the rules in which anyone should comply with, just as a human being, not even as an American, it's even that much more shocking.
I agree, and I know you have to just sit while I say this, but common sense, if you're raised in America, we know not to do this. But if you're raised in the third world, go drive in New Delhi. They're doing all sorts of goofy stuff. They're avoiding cows. They're doing all sorts of crazy stuff. It's a certain way of thinking, and he had no reason to be on the road, let alone a commercial driver's license. Third world traffic is a free-for-all nightmare, and now you import the third world and you allow it onto your streets. So Joe Biden had a task force comprised of a bunch of Pete Buttigieg's buddies. By the way, next time Pete Buttigieg comes up for an interview, someone should ask him about this. You're doing a phenomenal job, Mr. Secretary. Let me just say you're a rock star. You're doing 10 out of 10. And I know you're going to fix this. There were hundreds of thousands. So basically, from what we understand, there were 400,000 new commercial driver's licenses given to migrants, refugees, and illegals, thus flooding the industry. I want everyone to understand. Let me repeat that. There's 400,000 people with commercial driver's licenses right now driving rigs. That's a public safety risk, Mr. Secretary.
100%. Which is why we changed the rules, right? So again, making sure you speak the language. And by the way, that has been the rule of the road. You got to speak English. What happened, though, is Democrat administrations have said, well, if you violate that rule, we're going to give you a slap on the wrist. What we said is, no, we're going to put your vehicle out of service. And probably that's a big thing where if you're pulled over and you have to get out of your rig and park it at a weigh station, and you got to wait for some other driver to come in, that the economic consequence of that is real. And then you're going to see our haulers make better decisions about who they hire and knowing that they can speak the language. But I think this is a broader theme, and you've covered the border a lot. You've talked about it. The last administration had a sick set of ideals about we want to let as many people from around the world into this country, and then we want to let them in and compete with American men and women in some great jobs that are family supporting, and drive the wages down of those jobs, but also endanger Americans' lives while they'll do it, whether they're the southern border, whether they're cartel members, whether they're criminals, sexual predators, drug dealers, or truck drivers that come into this country. The last administration didn't give a damn about the safety and the well-being of the American people. And this is just one additional example of the lack of care they had for us. Let me tell you another issue, Charlie, that's also happening. Again, so we have neighbors to the north and neighbors to the south, right? So in Canada and Mexico, we allow, because a lot of products move between our countries, we'll allow a Canadian truck driver or a Mexican truck driver to drive into the U.S. to drop a load. And once they drop it, their visa allows them to turn right around and drive back to their country of origin, Canada or Mexico. What we find happening now is they'll actually pick up additional loads in violation of their visa, violation of what we allowed them to do in this country, and they'll make 2, 3, 4, 6 more stops in this country without authorization, cabotage. And so we're working on that as well. Again, we are going to follow the rules to the letter, and we're going to implement new regulation that, again, I think our truck drivers are so angry about this. American truck drivers who abide by the rules, they move our products across the country. We saw during COVID how critical they are in keeping our store shelves stocked. They see this happening, and I think it gives their business a bad name. They are fully supportive of what we're doing, which I'm grateful for that. But also the fact that you bring people in to compete with great American jobs, or you drive down wages. I want great truck driving jobs with great pay because they do great work. And again, the last administration didn't give a darn about it. And is outrageous, but we love them. The president loves them, and we're going to continue to look out for them and make sure that if you come in, you drive, you can speak the language, you can understand signs, and you're going to keep our roadways safe.
And make no mistake, I know some of these guys. These large trucking companies, they want low-wage labor. They don't want to pay Americans, so they're happy hiring Harbinger Singh. And so that's a very important thing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sorry. And then I know that this is not your jurisdiction, Mr. Secretary, but I will recommend publicly to Stephen Miller and Kristi Noem, we need to just deport them. That's not your jurisdiction, but interagency cooperation to deport every single CDL illegal non-English speaking person driving. That's a weapon on the road. 2 extra minutes with Secretary Duffy. Stay right there. Okay, Secretary Duffy is with us. Secretary Duffy, any final thoughts on this situation? Also, I know you oversee NASA as well. There's other news besides this kind of dark stuff we're dealing with, but please.
So just, real quick, it is a whole of government approach. And what I love about President Trump's cabinet is all of us look for opportunities to work together. No one backstabs each other. And so Kristi and I have exchanged messages on this very issue. Everyone has to work together to make sure we serve the American people. And that's exactly what happens, to your point. Just quick on NASA. Everyone in the world, everyone in America knew the Apollo program when we went back. We went to the moon in the 60s and 70s. We're going back to the moon, Charlie. Artemis 2 is going to go out and around the moon at the start of next year. And then Artemis 3, in about a little more than a year after that, we're going to go land back on the moon. And what we learn, and by the way, when we go, we're going to stay. We're going to set up a camp. There's a bit of a space race going on right now. There's a critical area on the moon that we want to get to. We know that the Russians would like to get there, the Chinese as well. And so we want to be the first ones back there. But what we learn when we go to the moon is going to instruct us on how we get to Mars. And again, we're great explorers from the Pilgrims to the pioneers. We're explorers. And they used to say, Charlie, that he who controls the seas controls the world. And I think as we look forward, he who controls space is going to control the world. We do not want to cede that to the Chinese. And so it's an exciting time at NASA. We are getting the directive away from the DEI, away from the green. We're going to comply with congressional requirements, but the focus is human exploration. By the way, we're the only agency that does that. There's a lot of people that can do DEI. I would disagree with it. A lot of people can do green. Disagree with that as well. But we do space exploration, and we are realigning the agency to do just that. It's an exciting time, and I'm looking forward to it.
Secretary Duffy, thank you so much for your time, and keep the pressure on. Thank you.
Thanks, Charlie.
Everybody, email us, freedom@charliekirk.com, and subscribe to our podcast. That is the Charlie Kirk Show podcast page. We have, and by the way, Secretary Duffy, he's terrific. He's doing a great job. Let's just finish that point and complete that point. Let's play cut 429 up on screen. It's B-roll. This is your average road in India. Let's put this up. Something very interesting that Secretary Duffy said. He said, it's not common sense. That's India. Right there. Now, it's pretty amazing they're able to get that done, but a lot of traffic accidents and a lot of auto fatality. It's chaos. So you bring in Harbinger Spring and Harbinger Singh, who has not passed any of the tests, doesn't speak English. This is what he's used to. Oh, driving a truck, just a U-turn, baby. And you expect, oh, well, it's just common sense. He doesn't come in with common sense. What we're talking about is Western sense. Harbinger Singh has no Western sense. Do you know that 1 out of 3 truck drivers in Canada are Sikh? Now, I have nothing against Sikhs. I actually grew up with Sikhs. They're very warm and wonderful people, and they're the people of the book. But 1 out of 3 truck drivers, you cannot drive like that in America when people expect drivers to respect the rules of the road. This is the difference between Western civilization and whatever that is. And yes, now there are 3 dead Americans. There are hundreds of thousands of foreign national alien invader truck drivers. Period. And not a single one of them should be truck drivers. Hundreds of thousands. Hundreds of thousands. They don't speak English. They don't even know English. And this is what's so interesting. Some people say, well, Charlie, do you really want to deport all these law-abiding? How about we start with the truck drivers, 400,000 of them. They're taking jobs from native-born Americans that otherwise could be doing this work. How many Black Americans, Hispanic Americans, and Caucasian Americans, white Americans. These are low-skilled jobs. The last thing we need is 100,000 people from the third world. When we talk about assimilation, that includes English. Email us, freedom@charliekirk.com. Stay right there. Okay, everybody, welcome back. Email us, as always, freedom@charliekirk.com, and subscribe to our podcast. We're here at the bitcoin.com studio. What have I told you? The Democrat Party is facing a voter registration crisis in red, blue, and battleground states alike, losing ground to the Republican Party everywhere. This is the front page of the New York Times today. New York Times has this piece by, I believe it's Shane Goldmacher. The party is bleeding support beyond the ballot box, a new analysis shows. And by the way, we are only going to pour more gas on the fire because at Turning Point USA and Turning Point Action, every day we are registering new voters. Every single day we are out in the streets registering new voters. Grassroots, precinct by precinct, campus by campus, church by church. All told, Democrats lost 2.1 million registered voters between 2020 and 2024 elections in the 30 states along with Washington, D.C. There are still more Democrats registered than Republicans nationwide, partly because of big blue states like California, where they registered by party like Texas is not. But the trajectory is troublesome for Democrats, and there are growing tensions over what to do about it. By the way, these are in some very, very blue states. You see this. Democrats are down in Colorado. Democrats are hugely down in Nevada. They're down significantly in Arizona, down significantly in Florida, down significantly in Maine, down significantly in Iowa, down significantly in Oklahoma. Now, we should not treat this like an over-success story on the Republican side, but the Democrats are on the wrong side of every single 80-20 issue, every single 80-20 issue. Down significantly in Wyoming, down significantly in Kentucky, down significantly in every major state. They've been down 7% in voter registration since 2020. Consider this. In 2018, Democrats accounted for 34% of new voter registration numbers, while Republicans were only 20%. By 2024, Republicans had taken over Democrats among new registrants. What does that mean? That means that the youth Gen Z surge is sticking. Most new voters, not all, are young. And new voters are overwhelmingly Republican. Let's get this chart up on screen if we can. This one, I don't know if you guys... Yeah, that's the one. That's perfect. Thank you. The share of voters registering as Democrats has declined. The remaining voters picked another political party, registered as an independent, or declined to choose a party. The Times combined registration data from L2 and compared it to state records across the country for the scope of the registration decline for Democrats. Democrat strategists say that this is a crisis that must be reversed before the 2020 election, and we're not going to let that happen. We have, without a doubt, and we are scaling up the largest voter registration operation in conservative movement history. Every day, our over 1,000 staff are registering new voters in Arizona, Nevada, in Texas, in Iowa, in Ohio, in North Carolina. We just had our entire Turning Point Action team doing it for 3 weeks straight at the Iowa State Fair. And it's new voters. It's young men. It's young Christians. It's young ladies that all want to have their worldview closer to that of the Western order. This is the favorability for the Democrat Party, 430. This is how favorable the Democrat Party is. It's in full-scale collapse. Why is this happening? Why are younger voters moving so substantially to the right? It's because younger voters participated in the largest, most sinister social experiment in modern history. Pronouns, vaccine mandates, prom and graduation canceled, land acknowledgements, white men are systemically racist, Floydapalooza, white fragility, and they are resisting, and the Democrat Party remains toxic. That's why I believe this upcoming campus tour is going to be the biggest we've ever had at Turning Point USA. Here's the spokespeople for the Democrat Party, the chattering class, the mockingbirds, talking about crime in D.C. You want to know why the Democrats are collapsing? Play cut 419.
Gavin Newsom, he wants to own Donald Trump. He wants to be Donald Trump light. You can't be Donald Trump light. Hey, Gavin, talk into the camera and talk about making life more affordable. Like, you're trying to do everything to distract the American people from the fact that you're screwing up on job one. And job one is helping working Americans and helping the middle class afford their lives and build a life where their children are going to live better than them. That's the American dream, and you have done nothing.
Okay. And they have a complete meltdown here on the current state of the Democrat Party. You can't be Donald Trump, Joe Scarborough says, and he's right. But we need to keep the main thing. What makes Turning Point USA and Turning Point Action different is we show up and we work and we grind every single day. Nobody works as hard. Nobody's as ambitious. And you look at the churches that we have at our pastor summits. You look at the Turning Point Education, you look at Blexit, you look at the high school chapters, the college chapters. It is the grittiness and the work that is going to save this great nation. Email us as always, freedom@charliekirk.com, and subscribe to our podcast. Democrat Party is facing a voter registration crisis in red, blue, and battleground states alike, losing ground to GOP everywhere. Just wait till we get back on campus. We are going to accelerate that collapse. We're going to pour gas on that collapse, and we will further facilitate the implosion and hopefully the destruction of the modern Democrat Party. Sanctuary State's next.